We're on the Worldometer site again like we've been looking at previous days, just taking a look at the numbers real quick. As you can see here on the screen, 67,185 cases, 1,526 deaths, and 8,410 individuals have recovered from the virus. We'll kind of buzz through this quickly here. Take a look at the number of active cases. 57,249, 46,166 are in mild condition. That's 81%. 11,083 individuals are in serious or critical condition, which is 19% of the cases. Closed cases, and this is really what we're looking at in terms of the mortality rate. Keep in mind, yesterday it was at 16% in terms of the deaths. So you see here 1,526 deaths out of 9,936 cases that have had outcomes. So that number actually inched down to 15%. So we'll see where that goes in the next few days and in the weeks ahead. We'll take a quick look at the numbers by country since I don't do this that often. But as you can see here, you've got China way out in front, obviously. 143 deaths today. All of those deaths were in China. Of the new cases, 2,645 were in China, 78 were in Japan, 1 in Thailand, and 2 in Malaysia. So what does the increase in Japan tell us? Those 78 cases, just doing some simple math, they had about 260 prior to today. So with today's total of around 80, that makes up about a 30% increase or so in cases over one day. So what does that tell us about Japan? Does that tell us that they could be really looking at some issues? That potentially they could grow eventually into another epicenter like we've seen in several cities in China? I guess time will tell. Hopefully, like I talked about yesterday in my video about Singapore, hopefully Japan's able to kind of quell this thing before it really gets out of hand. So again, that's just a quick look at the numbers, and we'll take a look at those from time to time. This is a New York Times article that I wanted to talk about. There's one story in here in particular that I wanted to talk about today, so today's video is going to be pretty short. If you look at the headline here, it talks about the numbers, so we'll skip past that whole part of it since we've addressed that in the previous segment of the video. So this is the headline that I wanted to talk about from the Times article, and of course I'll link it and archive it below. It says here the US will evacuate Americans from the cruise ship quarantined off Japan. I've been talking about the Diamond Princess quite often and been giving my thoughts on that the past few days, but let's read what it says here. The US will evacuate Americans from the cruise ship that has been quarantined for more than a week in Japan due to the coronavirus infection on board. The US Embassy in Tokyo told Americans on board the ship on Saturday. That's got to be great news for them, right? American passengers and crew were told in an email from the embassy that a chartered flight would arrive on Sunday for those who wanted to return to the United States. Hopefully all of them. Come on, right? All of them. Get me off this stupid cruise ship where everybody's getting this stuff left and right. Obviously they would come here and they'd be quarantined and everything like that, but even if the cruise ship is giving you all these amenities, nice dinners, Wi-Fi, whatever they can give you, still being locked up in that box for all that time, cabin fever, right? Additionally, it says here the ship, the Diamond Princess, was placed under quarantine at the city of Yokohama early last week with about 3,700 passengers and crew member aboard, after a man who had disembarked in Hong Kong was diagnosed with the coronavirus. Since then, at least 218 cases have been confirmed on board the ship. So can you imagine that? One person popped positive initially, and now it's led to 218 cases. So it just goes to show you, and perhaps there are other factors involved and whatnot too, but if one case can really lead to that, then they really have to be careful when they bring these individuals back from the cruise ship. You don't want a situation where an individual passes through the quarantine, we think they're fine and everything like that, and they get out into society and they can infect 5, 10, 20 or more people, and then those people affect more and then more and more. So it's kind of like a continuous ugly cycle, so you got to be really careful. It says here there are hundreds of Americans on board and at least 40 were infected with the virus before being taken off the ship for treatment. Japan has more confirmed coronavirus cases, the vast majority of them from the ship, than any country outside China, and it reported its first death from the virus on Thursday. Okay, so the first part of the video, let's think that through real quick. I guess that kind of makes sense to me why we've seen that huge increase. So my speculation was wrong in a way, because it would stand to reason that these individuals are being counted as part of Japan's count. Maybe I'm mistaken on that, but these 40 individuals who were infected, regardless of what country they come from, they're being counted on Japan's rolls. Am I right about that? I don't know, maybe not. Infections and deaths continued to climb after the government this week changed its criteria by which it tracked cases. And I've talked about that over the previous few days, but here it goes on to tell us what we already knew from the first part. 2,641 new cases, 143 new deaths, which even is different from the numbers they listed there at the top of the article. The new numbers came hours after Beijing announced new restrictions on people returning to the capital from elsewhere in the country. So I guess maybe I should show you that real quick, and we'll skip the rest of this here. It's pretty much what we know and what I've covered recently. So we just scroll down a little bit on that article, and you'll see that if you look at the archive of it. But it says here, Chinese state-run television announced on its website on Friday evening that everybody returning to Beijing would be required to isolate themselves for 14 days. Now this is the part that gets me, and I talk about this, and we can't talk about this enough about the kind of country we live in and the freedoms that we expect of our government, or just as being Americans, the things that we kind of take for granted. Check this out. Anyone who does not comply shall be held accountable according to the law, according to a text of the order released by state television. The order was issued by the Communist Party leading group at the municipal level, not the National Communist Party. It was the latest sign that China's leaders were still struggling to set the right balance between restarting the economy and continuing to fight the coronavirus outbreak. So we'll skip the rest of the article there. Again, I think it just goes to show where priorities are at. And it looks like, at this point, according to what we see here, municipal level, I don't know how their government works, of course, but they're not raising it to the national level, which is what they're talking about here. So we'll see what happens over the coming days. We'll see if that changes. But again, that's the video. Like I said, it's a short one today, just a quick update and some things I wanted to share with everybody. So thanks as always for watching. Let me know what you think. Leave some comments below. And where do you see this going? Like I always ask in my videos, where do you see the death toll going? What do you see it turning out to be in the end? And what are you thinking about this in terms of the potential impact this could have on the United States if it ever takes hold here? So again, like I said, thanks for watching, everybody. Take care, and I hope you have a good weekend.